Hi friends, this is Manish Pandey. Welcome back to my series on UiPath Data Service. In our last video, you learned how to import and manage the entities from UiPath Studio. In this video, I am going to show you how to create entity records in UiPath Data Service directly from UiPath Studio. It means now we are going to use all these activities that's a part of uipath.dataservice.activities package. So we'll be using one by one activity. So in this video, I will show you one activity, that is create entity records activity. So let's get started. So we are on the UiPath data service. Okay, so before moving to the UiPath Studio, I want to show you here. So first, you should have the access to the UiPath data service and then create one entity so that you can use it for the practical example. So I have already created this vendor master. Now, if we'll click on that, so the way we are going to add the data, same way the records will be created in the data service from UiPath Studio. So let's add a new data. So let's say I'm going to enter here V001, vendor name ABC Corporation. These are not required fields, so I can leave as it is. But in the email ID, I can put like abc@gmail.com. Now here these are not required fields, so I can leave this. Now click save. So you can see here data has been added. Same way we are going to do this from UiPath Studio. So let's move to the UiPath Studio. If you have not imported entities in UiPath Studio and if you have not installed uipath.dataservice.activities package, then make sure to install it first. So go to manage packages, install that package uipath.dataservice.activities package. Second, you can go to the manage entities and select the entity that you want to import and for which you want to perform the CRUD operation, CRUD. So I'm going to create the records here. Okay, so this has been imported. You can verify it from here. So this has been added and this is an entity. Now we are good to insert the records to the entities in UiPath data service. So we'll go to activities. We can search create entity records, or you can go by the packages, expand this. The first activity, that is create entity record, drag and drop to this workspace area in the main sequence. Now you have to choose the entity which is available, which is imported. Select vendor master. This has been imported. Once you select the entity, this wizard will be displayed, or we can say this field view is displayed. So there are two options, one field view and second record view. So currently we are in the field view, which shows the first three mandatory entity fields. If you have less than three mandatory fields, then this wizard will display the mandatory field first and then non-mandatory fields after that. So I have already shown you in the data service that we had three fields marked as a required. We have email address, vendor ID, vendor name. So we have selected here. Now here you need to enter the value which you want to insert to this field in this entity. Okay, so let's say this time I'm saying that the vendor ID should be in double quotes V002. Vendor name, I'm saying this is, so we have ABC, now we'll say DEY Corporation. Okay, in the email ID we'll say DEY@gmail.com. Okay, so we have added this. If you want to add few more records, the value to few more entity fields, you can click on add additional fields and you can select. If you want to add to all, you can select all, or if you want to choose any one, you can select that. So let me click add additional field And now I'm going to choose status. Select that. Now status also added here. So I will say the status is active. If we'll go to the properties of this activity, you can see here the options. First, timeout millisecond, that is 30,000. So this is common for almost all the activities. The timeout, you know that it specifies the timeout in the milliseconds. That is the default is 30,000 milliseconds. That is 30 seconds. It is used to wait for the activity to run before an error is thrown. Second, we have related record depth. Now, what is this related record depth? By default, the value is selected 2. And if you click on drop down, we have 1, 2, 3. This option determines how deeply the system will fetch and include the related records when creating or updating an entities. This is related to the relationship field type, where we create a relationship between multiple entities. Now in the output records, you can store this in the output. Now I'm going to run this activity so that I can show you how we can insert the records. After that, I will show you the second option, which is switch to record view. Do not go anywhere. Watch this video till the end, then you can understand this activity clearly. Okay, now let's run this. Okay, now this has been completed successfully. Let's refresh the data. Okay, now you can see here V002 DEY Corp, email ID, and then a status. Now here, instead of putting the hard-coded value, you can take it from the variable, from arguments, and then you can pass it these value, right? Now we'll click on switch to record view. You can see here we have entity, and then we are getting this input records. This input records where we can enter a syntax, enter an expression to pass the data. Now there is one syntax which is used to pass the value, like here. For one field, you can type like new entity name with curly bracket dot fill name equals to value, then closing curly brackets. Let's type here. Okay, now you have to write like this: new, your entity name. So I'm going to select vendor master. You can see this entity name. Now with space, with curly braces, open close curly braces. Now one space, once you give one space here, it will show you the list of properties here. So instead of putting dot here, I can directly select the specific field. So I'm going to select vendor ID. Once you select vendor ID, that dot will be entered automatically. Now let's type here equals to and then value. So V003. Okay. So this is for one records. You can see there is no error. Now, if we need to pass multiple value to the records to the multiple fields, then how can we do that? So to insert multiple records to this entity, we have to modify this expression. So now the expression is this: new entity name with open and then close curly bracket, then dot and then fill name 1 equal to value 1, comma, again fill name 2 equal to value 2, and so on. Now let's open this in the advanced editor. Press comma. Once you press space, it will ask you to select other field. You can see property vendor master dot address. So vendor master that we have already selected, and then now we'll pass the other field. So vendor address, so now we are going to pass vendor name. So let's search for vendor name. Okay, equals to vendor name is now XYZ, comma, once you press space here, again it will ask you to select the field, and then you can see dot is automatically getting added here. Now third one, I'm going to enter the that required field, that was email address, equals to, again in the double quotes, because this field type is set as a text, that's why we need to pass in the double quotes. Now in the email address I will say xyz@gmail.com. Okay, let's click save. Okay, now we are going to run this, so click on run. Now this time V003, that records will be added here. Okay, so let's move to the data service, refresh this, and you can see here V003XYG, the email ID added here. So you learned here how to use switch to fields view and how to use switch to records view. You learned how to put the expression in the input records, how to create entity records from UiPath Studio directly. If you found this video helpful, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more UiPath tutorials. And if you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.